behind himself and just hasn't played well with giant gold deficits. So they need to either change their playstyle, which takes a lot of time, or just find ways to make their initial playstyle work, which hopefully they can do here against TSM.
Crumbs might want to get back at Amazing for all the harassment he's found in the jungle in the past few weeks. I'm expecting him to have a pretty strong game and make up for some of that play.
Amazing would have had his first Elise defeat as well in their game earlier to the hands of Meteos' Evelyn with Cloud9. So maybe Dignitas is kind of letting up on that. A lot of times it's not necessarily the fact that Amazing isn't on an amazing jungler for him, but more the situations that arise where he can't pick one of those are bad for Team SoloMid. We're forced into other things. But at this juncture, that first pick Lee Sin is looking rather comfortable.
Very comfortable indeed. In initiations of the highest risk, if necessary, when it comes down to it. Lee Sin, Amazing, can make some nice combos for the eyes to see here. But let's see what Dignitas can thwart that with. What do they choose first? Highest priority here after seeing the Lee. They choose to give their hand up with what? Gragas is out. Zion Spartan has been getting what he wants in the top lane, and it looks like he will again. Maokai's been seeing a lot more play.
And while Zion Spartan was victorious with Maokai in his game against CLG, he didn't look very comfortable. Remember, Zion's never been your prototypical tank player.
Right.
He definitely functions better on Assassins, but just the sheer power of this Maokai pick is too good to pass up. Everyone seems to be dominating with this guy in the top lane.
Looks like they'll have the synergy of lockdown between Thresh and Maokai for now. You see Lustboy may get his Nami banned out the first time he was brought into the LCS by Team SoloMid. He found that not allowed to play, but he might get what he wants here.
And this time, Wild Turtle's the one with the Kog'Maw. He was getting bullied by Sneaky's Kog'Maw excessively earlier on. And they're going to save their support pick until later, knowing that Thresh is already locked up. They go with the generic Aurelia pick, which is something that Dyrus has recently really added to his champion pool and seems to rely on very heavily when Lulu and Gragas, two of his other big-time picks, are banned out.
It's very consistent for him.
Absolutely.
Right across the board, usually keeps it some 1-1s and 1s or something. A lane that does not get lost.
I really wonder if he'll be able to provide kill pressure on Maokai in lane, because if he cannot do that, I feel like the team fighting of Zion Spartan's Maokai will just far outweigh the power of Aurelia. So Dyrus really has to win the lane with that Aurelia.
Gap close in and pick possibility right now from Dignitas. A very scary team to get caught out by. TSM throws down a bit of disengage maybe, but the Nami still gets picked up and they get the ball delivery system with Lee Sin.
It's an interesting time to pick Orianna, just based on how mobile the entire Dignitas team is. Trying on a Shockwave onto an Elise or an Ezreal is a pretty difficult thing to do. Bjergsen has had success on Orianna in the past, but the extended hover makes me think he might be going for something else. No, he's going with Ori.
Wow. Yeah, I thought he might have switched back to Syndra. Had a really great game coming off yesterday, 4-0-1 in that CLG matchup. Or their matchup, I should say. It wasn't CLG, it was LMQ, I believe. Indeed.
Indeed. So this final pick here for Dignitas means Shifter can go with whatever he pleases. A Ziggs would be the safest, most generic mid lane pick. Dignitas typically trends towards that.
Right.
Or he could get fun and play an assassin to try and kill Kog'Maw. Ahri is available for Shifter. Come on, man.
I like it. He was saying recently, maybe she should get some hits. Oh, she's in the movie. Maybe she'll get some buffs. Maybe you just need to play her. Yeah!
All right. Now's the time to break out Ahri. You need to be able to reach that Kog'Maw in the back line. And Dignitas had already built up a fairly heavy pick composition, as well as wanting to maintain the quick access mobility to try and neutralize the shockwaves from Bjergsen.
Mobility indeed. So, we said Dignitas is going to want to try to pull out some aggressive lanes here. They have lanes that can win, poke, and kill all in themselves, but they're going to need a bit of help from Crumbs. A lot of focus to him on this game. TSM bringing out a composition that says we've had consistency with these before. We got Lustboy as main champ. We'll see if we can play it easily enough to put Dignitas in a big rut in that first Dragon fight.
A lot of main champions here for the TSM lineup. Even though Wild Turtle plays a lot of Kog'Maw, he does say it's not his favorite.
Right.
But as far as the 80 carry tier list that people have been going, Tristan is out, he picks Kog'Maw. And Lucian is obviously on the bench this week because of the large changes to his balance.
Right.
So the champion select in the bot lane theoretically favors TSM. They just have to execute.
We'll have to see. We get to check it out right now. The champs are locked in. Let's see how you're calling this matchup. According to LOLesports.com, 75% of the vote is going towards Team SoloMid.
Ooh, 3/4. But keep sending those votes to @LOLesports by tweeting the hashtag TSMWin or DIGWin. And we'll be updating the poll regardless of if it is proper or not. Like those 80 or 90% CLG wins we had the other day with the sub roster.
Yep.
We're just going to put it up there. Because that's what people have been voting.
So we talked a little bit about Crumbs in the jungle and the rest of Dignitas kind of having a bit of trouble. But then we put that back onto Vision. The first time we saw these guys play against Cloud9, they shut down High's access to blue and pretty much dismantled the rest of the team surgically with their control of Vision just under that mid lane. And Crumbs was really a key point in keeping that Vision up. Continuous wards, everything he could. And it seems like Dig has kind of let that fall to the wayside over time.
It's true. When Dignitas is at their best, it's because they're denying Vision and winning the game early on. It's actually strange because I forget exactly where I saw it, but Scar was talking in depth about what his strengths are as a player and why he thinks Shifter is a better fit for the LCS right now. And Scar was always talking about how he's actually really good at getting advantages in lane. And unless he's really far ahead, he can't make the proper decisions in team fights. But Shifter is much better at capitalizing in team fights off of not very big leads. Yet, as an entire team, that's still true for Dignitas, actually.
Yeah.
They're typically quite strong in lane and need to have a lead in order to pull out victory. So that's why the vision control early on is just so paramount.
Vision control early on. Be very good for holding these lanes, and TSM's going to try to get a bit of their own too. Need to calculate the way their composition works and try and get that going. Wards down from Zion Spartan. Keep everything safe. So the risky wards coming in on both sides towards that blue. Let's see where actually TSM it feels. We have a bit of voice comm from their champion select of how BRXN feels this one might go. Let's check it out.
Their team comp is really good mid-game. Ari is going to get DFG or something, and Ez is going to get Trinity Force, and they're going to group. But we're going to get the same power spike, but honestly, ours is so much better.
Just because I said so.
That's an interesting thing. It'd be like, they're really strong mid-game. We're better mid-game. Let's do it.
That's considering if you hit a living artillery, the shockwave, the everything else you have.
It also is heavily dependent on how they do in lane, because if Amakunipai gets a Trinity Force before Wild Turtle does, it won't matter who has the stronger mid-game champions in that case.
The vote is shifting ever
Pretty
so
close
slightly.
To the LOL eSports vote on the website.
Right, so let's see where we go. We have opposite starting junglers to begin.
This always means that early ganks are slightly more likely because the junglers have less fear of running into each other.
Right.
Since, especially Amazing, got to see Crumbs started at his red. He saw it because they had wards on the blue, so by process of elimination, Crumbs started at his own red, meaning Amazing might be going for a gank top or mid pretty soon.
Gotta love it. Used to work in school, multiple choice questions. Works now. Process of elimination.
I always just pick C.
C's good. And then you realize you have like 6 in a row that are C, and you're like, that's not right. Kiwi Kid, good zone pressure here. Gets in the paint, and he says, you're going to stay level 1. That's a menacing look he's got there.
You know, Wild Turtle and Glebe were having a lot of issues in 2v2s prior to his departure. They were almost always behind in lane. Yet when you listen to Lustboy and Wild Turtle play together, it's almost like they're not communicating because, well, they aren't. Oh, dear.
Double. That was flashy.
In their first week of play together, they actually dominated their duo lane and played spectacularly together. Yet this week, it seems like, whether it's just a lack of confidence or other teams more knowing Lustboy's style just because they had a week of footage to watch on him, it's been teams kind of punishing them. And very early on there, with Crumbs' initial gank, just guessing Amazing wasn't going to be there for a counter, and getting both flashes off could mean even more struggles for the TSM duo lane, this time with Lustboy instead of Glebe.
That is really crazy for 2 flashes. Just instantly blown like
one
that.
hook. Choo -choo.
in the sight of Crumbs, kind of just tipping it off.
That too.
A little bit of tilt, a little bit of scaredness in the bottom lane. 5.3 to 5.1 with a bit of the farming that's been going on. We're waiting for this first blood to create a lead. Dyrus doing a great job at getting some forward wards in here. Very risky, but the lane is pushed up perfectly for him. So see what they get out of this.
Not too much happening aside from the slight lead that they have in the bottom lane. And Crumbs, he loves trying this gank. Gotta land that though.
Ooh.
Jeez.
Oh. Here comes another one. Oh, he does actually get him. I was waiting for the crowd to deliver another O, and it just kept coming. They were actually fighting it out. 1-0 now. He could get within Twisted advance range. The shield of protection. He gets it on. Great job by TSM to recuperate and get a counter there.
It was a much better execution by TSM there because Crumbs, you can't miss a flash cocoon when you flash in point blank range. It puts you in such a vulnerable situation. Then after they missed the flash cocoon, they continued to commit, which left them completely vulnerable to Amazing's counter gank. Crumbs with a fatal mistake that proves fatal.
Indeed, indeed fatal. You can only make that once.
I ran out of words right there.
7.2 now. That's actually the first blood we were looking for. Wasn't too far off. We'll see Dyrus enjoying the aggression of his Aurelia. It's not really his playstyle, but he likes to force out a little bit of strength and aggression on this. He can win his lane a little bit in CS. 34 to 23. He's had a time by himself.
Dyrus has to win this lane.
Oh, yeah.
Yet, this is the start that TSM really needs against Dignitas. We know that Dignitas is pretty poor at coming back from behind, and TSM generally wins when they dominate the lanes. Great early start with that Lee Sin gank, and Dyrus does have a decent CS lead onto Zion Spartan, as well as already getting his teleport out, while Dyrus remains with his.
So we'll see Dignitas trying to squeeze out a little bit of Dragon now.
Pretty smart.
They fell behind with that first blood, but this is great knowing that Amazing had hovered towards the top side of the map. They're going to be smite free on this Dragon, and Crumbs will be able to grab it for himself. So Dignitas answers back with a 6-minute Dragon, keeping in mind that they can't fall too far behind here in the early phase of the game.
Crumbs making good on his bad play right there by making a calculated risk instead of a desperate risk right there.
Yeah.
Just grouping for Dragon with 4 people when they knew Amazing was probably near the top of the map is a safe play that can bring them back in gold. Great job.
Dyrus wishing that wave
Probably want to dive this fella.
a little farther off, very close. Oh, everybody's towards the top lane. They don't realize 3's a crowd in just a second here. Kiwi Kid's going to be close. They are forced to move on this now, and they should be forced to back out. No, Dyrus, don't go in. Amazing safeguarded to safety. Not in danger. Oh, no. Oh, my, what a flash by Zion Spartan. Amazing still gets out alive, and they're just going to tango with Kiwi Kid here. He gets the Lantern in. Another missed cocoon as Amazing makes a fast safeguard finger play. And it looks like he is level 5 to 2 4s. Could still make it out. No, Dyrus cannot get in range. The safeguard was still on cooldown.
Wow, but his buffs did expire right before his death, which is somewhat fortunate right there. Just a great roam up there by Kiwi Kid. He loves to just kind of leave lane at random times to throw the enemy off, and this definitely threw TSM off here. Great twist advance there by Zion. I think Dyrus was a little bit on a different page than Amazing, although they nearly got that kill. Amazing gets pulled out of position by going for the sick Q right there. Crumbs another missed cocoon, but it was not enough to stop them from killing Amazing because the chase of Thresh was too great. And they end up getting a kill back. That was all thanks to Kiwi Kid.
Ooh. Very back and forth, and Dignitas kind of delivered what advantage TSM had in a silver platter there. Now with Dragon, and they're going to be able to get that kill in the top lane, slowing down that a bit. So Dyrus isn't going to be there. We'll see if Zion Spartan can build himself back up in CS. So far, TSM is getting a bit of what they want, and Crumbs is having a much better game. Except for the cocoons.
Farm-wise, he's all right.
Yeah.
He is about 180 gold ahead of Amazing, which he is putting directly into wards. He will be going that squishy Elise build again, but that will provide strong objective control if Dignitas can harness that strong mid-game that Bjergsen pointed out. A lot of it will revolve around that bottom lane and whether or not Amakitty can hit Trinity Force before Wild Turtle does. Although Amazing does not want to let Crumbs completely back into the game, knowing he has a level 6 advantage means they can definitely pressure this blue buff. That's a pink ward.
Hits the cocoon, spot on. Wow, Crumbs is taking quite a bit of damage right now. Kiwi Kid on the roam, almost hitting it. Look at the pressure, amazing nose he can put on. They have a lot of vision of Dig every time this happens. So you might see the lanes go quite aggressive. Mid lane's trying to be fast pushed by Bjergsen when they all leave. Dyrus goes a bit hard and causes Maelstrom on Zion Spartan to come out. So he has his ultimate if they want. And now TSM's going to focus fire on mid. They're going to try to open up the map.
Really good push timing because they knew Dignitas was going for their own blue buff. The fact that Dignitas couldn't run by the safe way meant they had to go the long way around it. They lose pretty much their entire mid lane turret.
And Crumbs takes a big dissonance, so I don't know if he can stay here long. They're going to be able to get this push in, maybe get some nice forward wards on. TSM going to start getting some high risk into this game. They take a 500 gold lead.
Great job. That's a much better play than they made during pretty much the entire Cloud9 game. That was some great initiative they took to actually group early like that, and the control they're going to gain over Shifter by killing that mid lane turret and keeping Shifter pushed farther back really lessens the threat of the DFG assassinations.
Also a very squishy build to go straight for that. You got to be a fast Ahri. Only that needlessly large rod keeps him alive right now. That's not going to help too much to the two Dorans and a Chalice of magic resistance on the other side. See a bit of pressure here. Crumbs and Shifter trying to create something. I don't know if they're going to get too much out of it. Kiwi Kid again. Wow, Dignitas is really trying to formulate some plans.
The craziest thing about this is, think about how many times we've seen Kiwi Kid arrive on camera and make a difference versus how many times we've seen Lust Boy in a similar spot. And then you got to think, all right, Kiwi Kid's roaming around so much, surely that's punishing I'm a Cutie Pie's Ezreal. But not really. Even with all that, Wild Turtle still isn't ahead in farm.
Right.
It goes to show you how far behind TSM's bottom lane was put by those two early game flashes. Yeah. It's really what's keeping Dignitas in this game is the roam of Kiwi Kid.
Yep. I was surprised actually that Dig didn't go after those flashes, but kind of used them as the dragon. They said bot doesn't have flashes, they can't contest this dragon. So they're kind of playing around the danger, and they didn't give a chance to give Wild Turtle Lust Boy those dive kills. Here though, they might want to get a dive kill going on. Kiwi Kid, he took a lot of damage from that turret. Oh,
Run away, man.
He just pinches it right in between both. He gets himself out safely, and they're going to go ahead and rethink that one quickly. Nobody's coming to mid, though, for him, so they got to be careful here.
And finally, TSM is answering. They're saying, how many times does Kiwi Kid have to roam before they just decide to 3-shove bottom lane? Because that's something I'm a Cutie Pie will have a difficulty holding against, you would think. He's going to burn his ultimate, I imagine, to try and hold this off. But he's got to be careful not to make himself a target while doing so.
Nicely done. I like the waited for all the melees to get out of there, and then it was one shot for each caster. At bay for now, and Kiwi Kid's trying to haul, but trying to get back to the bottom lane. Moby boots for him, as usual, to make the Thresh plays. Very close to being finished up. Triforce for Cutie Pie. Let's see how much gold he actually has in the pocket.
This push is a much more dangerous one by TSM. It's one thing to 3-man push a wave, but to 3-man push 2 to 3 waves in a row gives the other team a lot of time to set up a counterattack, which is why TSM may be not pushing that next wave.
Oh, man.
Oh, dear.
Thinking exactly what I'm thinking. He couldn't get the flash over the wall. Forced to repel. Now he flashes. Oh.
Can it catch him?
That's just how much amazing was inside Crumbs' head.
Crumbs was the one in the brush, but Lee Sin knew it was there. And
that was great.
That was just amazing outplaying Crumbs. And it's going to result in a TSM Dragon.
Very nicely done, striking at the perfect moment. Team SoloMid give themselves a nice 2,000 gold lead. That was just off the right side of amazing shoulder. Cutie Pie trying to dance this one out with Turtle. He actually gets hit by the Voidoos, but still makes enough ground to get to safety.
All right, Dignitas is going to have to make a big play pretty soon.
Great pink ward. They're not going to pursue, though. They're just going to get the push on this lane, finally drop that turret, and they're going to get that dragon, now a turret, and just have more control. Very smoothly played by Team SoloMid.
Oh dear,
not pressure
they're
themselves
fighting over
too
that
much.
turret.
Somebody hit it. One more. Wild Turtle's on the job, and it looks like amazing. He's going to go down. One last. Cutie Pie finds a mystic shot. There it is, the twisted advance. Zion Spartan now gets into the fray, and he helps Cutie Pie pick up another kill. That's great for him, because he was just very far off from finishing a Triforce. Probably can now.
Really poor focus of the turret there by TSM. Puts them in a situation they do not want to be in. And then no follow on the teleport by Dyrus for the collapsing Maokai. Ends up with 2 kills. Check this out, though. They use the box, and Wild Turtle is a little bit zoned out before he can get focus on the turret. Amazing goes way too deep. Again, trying to kill Kiwi Kid, the man who almost always seems an inch from death, but never quite dies.
That's like one of the worst situations when you want to fight, but the leader siege minion of the wave is just crushing your HP along with all the caster minions. Wild Turtle was in a sore position there.
Kiwi Kid's back at it, though.
Yep. Cutie Pie.
He hasn't died in this game, actually, considering all the times Kiwi Kid's been an inch from death. That's got to be pretty amazing.
Making the roam, tanking turrets up at level 4. He does what he has to make plays. Still, every time I see him coming around the bend out of the jungle, I remember the Wraith hook over to mid lane and just the crushing plays that they put together. If they can keep doing that, Dignitas definitely puts himself in a great spot to just tear through playoffs, tear through the rest of the Super Week. Really make themselves a formidable opponent. 15 minutes in, seems like the bell goes off for Zion and Dyrus to get a fight going in the top lane. That's because Crumbs is going to jump in the ring as well. Dyrus very low, teleports up so he can get back to lane here, but that flash, that's going to be down as well as he goes down himself.
Crumb's able to pick that one up. Dyrus losing his lane advantage pretty much in one fell swoop just because Zion Spartan's got his Rod of Ages and had a second person there. That's the gank support that Maokai brings. Even with a Mist Cocoon, they're still able to easily turret dive Dyrus.
Very interested to see what happens from this Dignitas composition when they explode, when the Deathfire Grasp hits, or when they get shockwaved. Very nice. Can't get that dissonance on. Yes, he can. He finalizes the slow to keep the fight going. Bjergsen with a blue buff is going to try to dance around Dignitas' skill shots. He'll be fine and safe, pushing off Cutie Pie and Shifter. Well, like I was saying, I'm seeing what happens when Shifter and the team also get their composition. This is a great game.
It's really opening up, and we're hitting that mid game with pretty equal farm.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a Cutie Pie's a little bit ahead, but he never had that moment where he had a Trinity Force advantage. Just having a Vamp Scepter versus Boots in a fight is not that huge of an edge. DFG versus Athene's Unholy Grail, kind of the same thing. It's going to be all about execution from here on out, and whether Dignitas can find those catches, or whether Bjergsen can land more amazing shockwaves like he just did.
This would be great for TSM to pull it through. Like we said, they have a lot of zeros coming into this week, and they would love to take one of 4 games off of Dignitas on the split, and it's not going to help. The Lust Boy gets locked in a 16.5-minute fight, and Zion Spartan with Shifter on the front line gets that Deathfire Grasp down, gets the rest of the Foxfire out, and it is very cinematic-like as they take down just about the entire team. Team Solo.
What a huge fight there for Dignitas, and especially with these team compositions, Riv, it is a game of skill shots.
Yep.
I've been calling out a lot of missed skill shots, and that's just because there's so many of them flying out there. That time, Dignitas landed them all. Right here, big death sentence on a Lust Boy, could not dodge. That gets chained with the Cocoon, no chance of surviving. At this point, though, Shifter with a flash charm immediately onto the Kog'Maw, and since he's got a couple of dashes, or many dashes, he gets to continue on to Bjergsen. And a pretty farmed I'm a Cutie Pie is beginning to emerge amongst all this chaos.
And we haven't seen him on Ezreal in a long time. It used to be one of his very, very favorites. He could definitely make some plays and get himself into some sticky 1v1. So the lanes of Dignitas coming out a bit the way they wanted it. We saw Zion Spartan in a bit of trouble on that Maokai the other day. Or we see most players kind of having a troublesome time, but it still gets to that point towards the late game. He's already got the Rod of Ages stacking up. They just have to get another fight like that in 1 minute on the Dragon. 8-4 here for Dig as they take back the gold lead by 1,000. Very nicely played. TSM's making a few mistakes, though, to give them that lead so far.
Or just putting themselves in situations where they can be caught out.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing because Dig's composition is kind of all about getting the catches. TSM makes one wrong step, they can get jumped on here. Dyrus trying to shove out that top lane with Dragon in 30 seconds. It's forfeiting vision control quite heavily, but it will all be about whether or not he can provide adequate turret threat by the time the Dragon comes up. Or if they can actually pull a fast one here. TSM getting pretty good vision control over the Baron pit.
Yeah.
Which could dissuade Dignitas from doing that Dragon. So some mind games going on here, Riv.
This could be that time that Bjergsen was talking about, chat. The power spikes to the Triforces. The Rabadons are almost finished. This fight could mean a lot.
Not a good ultimate there by AmiCutiePie. It's down for the fight.
That's right.
A lot of Ezreals underestimate how important that skill can be in a team fight. If you hit the front target with no fall-off damage, it is a substantial amount of burst. Yeah, TSM still in this murky middle ground right here while Crumbs is soloing the Dragon. So there's that vision control coming in big for Dig.
Spectral Wraith for him, getting some nice damage, and he can use the spiders for a bit of tankiness. Won't even go down just about 75% HP to get that Dragon. Dignitas, very nicely done, and they even had Zion Spartan to throw it off Dyrus in the top lane, so he's forced to walk on down. We might actually get a fight out of this. I'm sure Bjergsen would love to use that power he just got out of base.
Well, the tricky thing for TSM as far as trying to force things right now is their initiation is much worse than Dignitas's. So Dig gets to pick most of the fights. And this Bjergsen can land a shockwave on the incredibly mobile team.
Yeah.
There's not much TSM can do, or if they can just get a large numbers advantage and turret dive someone. That's another way. Dignitas doing a pretty good job to keep the lanes shoving, however.
TSM might be able to do it here, but Dig actually moving too fast on their mid lane. They say, you guys are out of position. We're going to start doing some damage on this. So it looks like TSM's going to be forced to back. Zion Spartan will not try to stop them on that. Could have bought some time there for the team, but they're going to go ahead and actually, they look pretty unsure about taking this. So it looks kind of like a ward mission. Get our wards up. We'll do what damage we can and then get out. You see Kiwi Kid doing just that, getting some deep ones in just to the bottom side of the turret, and they're ready for this next engage. Slow moving, but Dig, I think, it got a bit of the laning phase that they wanted to move to this point of the game. It's all about that power spike that Bjergsen was talking about now for the next few minutes, because it could still turn.
And you could see that Bjergsen kind of tried to rush to that power spike as well, while remaining slow moving because he hasn't built boots yet. But the fact that he has the death cap and the Athenes means he's packing a huge punch if they can get the team fights. It's almost as if
Big ifs.
TSM realizes that Dignitas can find fights if they want them. So Bjergsen wants to have as much combat effectiveness, not in mobility, that can provide some form of counterplay for him.
Well, they have the wards to make quite a bit of plays, all the way up through where they just were to the top turret. Right now, they're cleaning up resources, so it's how they use these wards. Figure out where Dignitas is going to go. Do they move away from Dignitas and kind of dictate what Dig does and push down mid and make you force to it? Or are they going to face him straight on?
Well, it seems like Dignitas is definitely trying to keep TSM split up as much as possible. One of the big ways of seeing that is AmiCutiePie is continually just using his ultimate on creep waves.
Oh, that was so sick!
Kiwi Kid is playing out of his mind this game. He is just putting so much map pressure on TSM as a whole. That's an LCS big play right there, hooking the big Wraith as he's getting Lee Sin kicked. Watch this, he starts the wind-up. It catches the little Wraith. See you later.
So good.
Bye-bye.
And he gets an ignite out of it. Wow. It was so calm, cool, and collected. He knew he had an out.
Kiwi Kid roams around enough, and he's died enough times in the LCS. He knows how to get away from a death or two.
That was intense. So with the 2K gold lead, Dignitas kind of dodges out, giving back a little bit of that. Kiwi Kid-esque style. Dyrus now to drop the turret down on the bottom lane. This is kind of something that TSM has been able to do without being thwarted. That Dyrus pressure is definitely helping them stay in the game and map pressure. But Zion Spartan's always able to get there before he gets too much.
Yeah. Dyrus continuing to try and be a split push threat. I don't know if he'll get to a point where he can actually threaten Maokai, though, which is kind of what they need. But as long as they can remain grouped, and if they can find a fight, it'll be very good. Dyrus does find him!
Oh,
there it is.
My
wow.
word!
That is exactly what they needed, and Dyrus made that happen.
The slyest of AD carries goes down first.
That was the most farm person on Dignitas, right?
Yeah.
They just took down because Dyrus made a slick move going from lane to lane. They're going to get a lot out of this, Riv.
That is very big, Jay. You said it was going to be hard for them to get an initiation. There's something to be served up like that Dignitas could not afford. TSM is going to take everything they can out of this, and they know that backing to finalize the next few items will give them an even bigger power surge to do it again.
I would actually say that that was a very conservative move off of a catch-on to AmiCutiePie. There weren't many objectives for them to take, and they opted not to pressure Baron because it's 23 minutes into the game. When I think about it, it's probably the smartest possible play to do. I was expecting them to try to take a little bit more, but it was the right call.
Playing it safe. We've seen a lot of teams get an inch, try to take a mile, and then give everything back and never be able to see it again. But 5-3 definitely means that TSM controls that map pressure. They're not allowing Dig to get the wards out. I should say, we saw in the beginning part of the split. Zion Spartan flashes in, and so does Kiwi Kid. They really want this fight from what just happened. Will it get them into trouble? Shifter down to about 20% health immediately, and Dyrus is on the job. Now, trading focus over. None of TSM is tunneling. They're focusing perfectly, and they take down the lowest hanging fruit, which is Kiwi Kid.
That shockwave, even if it just hit one, was enough to turn the tides of this battle. Bjergsen catching Shifter after being able to flash back on Zion Spartan's Twisted Advance. Even though the Twisted Advance still hit, it just meant the follow-up wasn't going to arrive on time to shut down TSM. And now they are actually hoping that Crumbs makes a desperate Baron check here. Instead of just doing the Baron, this is valuable time that TSM is losing. So that time, actually, TSM was predicting Dignitas wouldn't have patience, and Dignitas actually had patience.
Right.
That would have given TSM a Baron if they would have just done it without patience. Mind games, man.
Patience is a virtue.
That's very true.
25 minutes on the clock. Pretty good game here into Game 4 of the day. TSM versus Dignitas, as it would be. TSM trying to stop a 4-game win streak here from Dig over the season.
Yeah, we do have to keep in mind, like you say there, Dignitas has beaten TSM 3 times in a row this season, looking for the 4-0. But that mid-game shockwave that Bjergsen was talking about and the power of Kog'Maw in close quarters has been enough. Another ultimate used to clear the creep wave, but the direction of that ultimate should tell TSM exactly where Dignitas is, as well as the wards. That kind of tells you where they are too.
Ooh, a lot of back pings going on. They don't feel like they have the control. Wow. That damage of the rushed
That Cocoon was definitely not worth it.
Oh,
this
Dyrus.
One, that would be a bad one to take as well.
TSM's very focused today. They had a chance again there for a dive shockwave, but now they have the mid control with a wave right behind them. They are dictating very well.
They want to try and cut off Dignitas from the base here and get a nice push onto the turret. Can they actually make Dig run around all the way, or can Dig just run around fast enough? They're going pretty quick.
And if this doesn't work, Jet, they have top lane to mess with as well. That's quite pushed up, or bottom lane. But Baron, it's going to be a bit of a scary task along with that bottom lane. If they do it, very, very scary. They don't have the sweepers to really tell them that they're walking over wards to get out here.
I'm a Cutie Pie landed enough Mystic shots onto Dyrus that TSM had to fall out of there. But they still do hold some decent vision control over the Baron area and have a gargantuan wave into the bottom lane that Zion is off clearing. He still has teleport though, so it's not like TSM can force a very potent 5v4. They're really actually hoping to get a pick on the pick comp right now.
They've perfectly formulated themselves in that rush, but they're going back. All right, so both teams get a breather. Dig doesn't really know that they're getting a breather. They're still thinking TSM's going to come out of the woodworks until they get enough wards up towards Baron, which they're dark on. All those wards are team solo mids, but Dignitas has kind of a forward push. As we said, they would dictate. If TSM kind of hovers towards Baron, Dignitas can go right for that second tier middle turret, I should say. It's usually the game they like to play.
Yeah, they're still kind of in a deadlock right now. A lot of it will depend on, like we said, the skill shots. Whether Bjergsen can land clutch shocked waves on priority targets, or whether Dignitas can land the right lockdown. Slick little ward kill right there. The dynamic duo of Crumbs and Kiwi Kid.
I feel like anything that's happened in this game with Kiwi Kid has been in style.
It really has. He has been playing great.
It helps.
Will it be enough?
Will it? Getting out with 10% HP about 5 times this game. Huzzah!
Oh, does he go?
And another one!
And them all. They did not decide to dump damage through to amazing.
You know, I feel like before Kiwi Kid would have just taken that.
He also would have died.
Yes, he would have. He's like, I got mobility boots. I'm taking a chance.
Yeah.
Be like, wait, just Mobies?
Yeah.
We'll see if they can make a play here with those Mobies, though. He's going towards the backside, so he can kind of come up the lane and get a hook on somebody if possible. But it looks like TSM, they disperse, also staying close to Cutie Pie to give him an extra Thresh Express out of the lane if he needs that after Arcane Shift. I don't know what to say, like people are missing skill shots or doing a good job dodging them.
It's both. In a lot of these situations, they're two relatively mobile teams. You know, Trinity Force,
true.
Boots of mobility on Lustboy, Lee Sin dashing all over the damn place. Makes it really hard to land skills.
Oh, face off in the mid lane. And get this wave cleared by Zion Spartan on the backside, and it's still the Baron dance to go down. Just a 2,000 gold lead between these two teams, and this is, you see that pressure every time they approach each other. There's no joke in this fight. It's going to mean somebody's inhibitor. It's going to be a big, big push if they get it. 1 minute 50 onto Dragon, but it's all about the purple worm right now, and they're going for it.
Yeah, they themselves used Scrying Orb on the Baron Pit, maybe like a faked out CV, but that's only lasts so long.
Oh, the double bubble!
Dyrus is thinking about it.
Not too much trouble. There's good ball placement. That little ball zone an entire team. And a sapling as well.
These team fights are going to be pretty fascinating as we get later into the game. Mainly because, oh, it might just happen right now. Dyrus is way in there.
Cutie Pie also has that Blade of the Rune King that he can get himself to safety with. They're going to be turning on to Lustboy. Huge shield. He'll stay alive throughout that. And it's going to be Zion Spartan not taking too much damage, trying to get on board. Shifter over the wall, taking down Amazing. Beautifully played as Lustboy somehow heals himself back up without taking any extra damage from the outside of the fight. 2 down for TSM here as Dignitas starts to posture for Baron.
Yeah, well, you can't posture for long, and there is still a Orianna ultimate up.
Yeah.
This is so dangerous!
That's huge. The dissonance was used right after, which means that's the brute force of damage you're going to see. Dignitas is able to reassess. Turtle needs a few more shots. Zion Spartan and Maokai offering just too much crowd control. The Cathian surprise should be enough to take one down, but Cutie Pie has the movement to get out safely.
Lustboy wants some.
What a fight. Lustboy coming back in. I think he might be able to bubble himself a kill. No, Sapling stops him short.
Jeez, what a fight there. Dignitas coming out slightly ahead. Check this out, though. TSM goes for initiation with Bjergsen way the hell back there and Wild Turtle behind the Baron Pit, so not a great sync. Shifter tries to punish Lustboy, but he gets all the shields in the world, meaning they don't have many left right there. It's just such a chaotic fight. We saw the finish by Shifter on Amazing. That was spectacular. We continue the fight here. And honestly, I feel like Dignitas thought that was a crazy enough fight. Surely the shockwave is down, because it is a little bit dangerous to do a Baron like that. Zion initiates while everyone else gets caught by the shockwave, and then Turtle can't get quite enough damage down onto Cutie Pie. Thresh shields, all the gloriousness, as well as chain CC is enough to stop them.
In the end, that mobility just comes out on top. Pretty strong.
You can say that again.
Let's see,
Dragon and Baron up, but TSM wants to push mid. And those team fights are going to be fascinating because you don't think that the Ahri is going to be better late game in a team fight than an Orianna, or that a Kog'Maw would be weaker than an Ezreal. But an Irelia is weaker than a Maokai, so a lot of these champion picks balance each other out.
This should be very fast. Wild Turtle chunking that down with the percent damages. TSM's going to reset, and we are back to the Baron. I'm loving this. What a great game. Nobody's really getting enough to take anything. They're both leaving this fight limping.
And it's a good dragon take there by TSM, as well as being able to take the blue buff away, considering they weren't punished at all for it. After losing the last fight as well. It's kind of like a miracle that they're able to do that. Yet, here we are, Dig trying to poke around the Baron area and find the right pick. Maybe this will be the game we see a double Scrying Orb.
Ooh.
With all the Fog of War games we're seeing. Seems like it may be necessitated here.
Pretty good sweepers going out so far. It's not going to be too hard whenever he's piled in the same spot. Let's see, Wild Turtle. He's going to put himself on a solo mission here in the mid lane. Dignitas says, all right, you're going to put your AD carry in mid, we're going to pressure, but Wild Turtle's already back in time.
Yeah, the great thing about this team is they
health.
don't really take damage when they're doing Baron because of Maokai and Elise. They're two of the lowest damage takers when they're on Baron. Dyrus is daring a fight to happen. Zion goes in.
Whoa! Zion Spartan just flies across the screen. Bjergsen gets hooked up.
Huge catch.
No shockwave in the fight. Dyrus is next. Dignitas comes out huge with the focus fire on this one, and Lustboy is providing a 0 sustain for the team. Only Amazing and Turtle make it out alive.
And Dignitas does that the way they make most of their plays, with vision control and denial, and of course, with the help of Kiwi Kid. The Lantern into Maokai initiation for the Baron Peel was awesome right there, and they're able to eliminate Bjergsen before he can make a big play. Plus, they get the Baron Pit.
Making it happen. 34 minutes in, Dignitas coming up big here and trying to make it 4-0 against Team SoloMid over the summer split. Cutie Pie has a great push to the top lane as well. Wow, they're just getting so much off of this. They don't have to work for it.
Yeah, this is so cool. Oh, we missed the initial start right there, but Kiwi Kid had a Lantern in before Zion could start. And then because the fight began without Bjergsen having spells, it didn't matter that Dignitas wasn't as great of a team fighting team because the main team fighter had already been eliminated. That's the pick that the pick comp is built around, and they can just take little old Baron afterwards.
Very interesting. It's hard for Bjergsen to throw that ultimate out. We saw it worked well once, kind of when the fight had fizzled, but when the fight's kind of trying to be dictated from Dignitas' side, he didn't even get a chance to. Smothering out Bjergsen and the rest of the team very fast, leading Dignitas now down to the middle inhibitor. They weren't actually able to grab that, which leads me to believe that TSM could put a pretty big hold up here still. Bjergsen is going to be able to clear waves quite well with Turtle as they get up to these turrets.
It won't be easy for Dig to close this. We can see how the gold is still really close. The stats that the Baron buff are providing right now are massive, which is what Dignitas will need to use to push this. Zion will really be the fearless one if they decide to go in. Warmogs, when you consider his passive, provides 7% of his max health every time he lands an auto attack. It heals him for 300 every time he has that charged sap magic up for an auto attack, which will pretty much be every auto attack in late game team fights.
Right. You have so many people around you casting. You're good to go.
I just want to build attack speed on Maokai to get more of them off.
Get all the auto attacks up. You don't have to worry. Slow moving here from Dig as they know they're going to start taking these outside turrets. Kiwi Kid wouldn't be surprised if he starts walking right into the team.
Hey, if they get a catch on a Wild Turtle, it would be go time and then some.
And there he goes. Kiwi Kid says, hey everybody, how's it going? Throwing down the box. He's going to put you inside of it. Amazing's going to be the next focus here. A nice twisted advance coming around the backside from Zion Spartan. They made sure people can get it out from that. The Cathian surprise doing a bit more than Dignitas would think. Kiwi Kid focusing a bit too much on the runner, and he's going to have to leave Amazing to stay alive now. Dyrus still very big in the fight, sustaining well to that as well.
But can they kill a Maokai?
No, they can't, chat.
Oh my god, Zion is tanky right there. Dignitas does have a failed dive, so TSM holds them off. But man, that really just goes to show how hard he is to kill. Dyrus still wants him though!
Oh, he flashed for it. Wait a minute. Oh, no! No! What? No, these decisions. Zion Spartan still coming back into the fight. That might not want to be the way he wants to go. They're going to be able to take out both of them. Bad choices.
A double kill off the back for Zion because Dyrus got a little bit over-aggressive. Huge smile on Cutie Pie's face. So, they land the Flash Cocoon, but it's a late entrance by Zion into this fight. So they finish him off early, yet they tunnel so much on getting some kills, they forget about that Orianna ball. Crumbs goes down, Shifter goes down to Dyrus, and then it's pretty much just a 3v3 brawl. It's all about where they're directing their focus right now. They do as much damage as they can to Zion Spartan, but you can see Kiwi Kid's telling Zion, I got you. Zion goes deep to cut off the wall, knowing they can't follow him past the Lantern. They pull it off, and really this just pisses Dyrus off so much that he wants to kill him later. And it ends up baiting him into a death right here. They have ward control. He thinks he can go assassinate him. Zoom. But again, Kiwi Kid with the death sentence to stop him dead in his tracks. And at this point, you realize how squishy Cutie Pie actually is. Finally, Dyrus can get his mitts on him, but it's just not enough. The lockdown continues to fly through from Dyrus, and they do not quite get him, making Zion an even bigger beast.
Man. What a try as TSM tries to pull themselves back in with every little bit, but really just keeps falling down the hill. 18-10 here, 38 minutes in, and it's only a 2,000 gold lead still coming in for Dignitas, so we could still see some big plays from the backline of Bjergsen and Wild Turtle if it were to come. It took them quite a while to take down Dyrus in that fight, so if TSM can get in a position to have Dyrus doing all that while they're delivering the damage, it's going to go very, very different.
TSM's in a real vulnerable situation right here. That missing might make them think they can go. They will be getting flanked. This is a big fight.
That's Kiwi Kid going down. He's been providing amazing crowd control now. They've taken kind of the brain out of the initiations here. Zion Spartan, he's kind of having some fun. If a tree falls in the wood, does it make sound? We'll find out. Shifter crushing it down. Beautiful job, but he gets taken out as well as Bjergsen's able to deliver the same medicine. Now they're on to Zion Spartan. He looks like he could go down. Cutie Pie on the outside won't be able to deliver enough damage, but will he? Throws down the blade of the Root King. Dyrus only needs one more shot. Now, Wild Turtle is taking hits. He's got a double buff, but not enough mana to pursue with Living Artillery. So back and forth in these fights, and yeah, TSM just came out on top.
Good God, they finally take down Zion Spartan, but that fight was explosive to say the least. This game is ridiculously close, Riv. 300 gold now separates them with really fed players on both sides. We have to find out exactly what happened here. So, it starts off with a catch on Kiwi Kid, means an advantage TSM. But really, the fight almost turned when Shifter went in right here. TSM is so healthy looking. Where does all this damage come from? So the sapling hits while that Orb of Deception from Shifter, as well as his Foxfire and everything, hits all at once, nearly chunking them down.
Wow.
But Wild Turtle has the proper focus, hits the squishies. Zion detonates his ultimate to kill 2, but there was no escape the red buff Kog'Maw and the Aurelia. This time, without Kiwi Kid the Savior to help out Zion Spartan. This is one hell of a game, Riv.
Yeah, it is. That is awesome. Some great walking control mechanics coming out from all the players right now. That fight just simply between Bjergsen and Shifter in the middle of that fray was great to see. And just how the Deathfire Grasp was used. You got to keep your eyes peeled for everything these players are giving to each other. Like you said, the gold very close right now. And who can thrive in this situation? We have Baron in 20 seconds, but we've gotten more out of these teams with the Baron down than we usually do with the Baron up. I'm really liking it. They've been taking chances.
And I do have to give a huge shout out to Zion Spartan here, because he's typically not a tank player. So his performance here on Maokai has been really, really good as far as trying to help Dignitas have a successful record here in this Super Week. They did mention how side advantage and getting that 4th, maybe even possibly 3rd seed is so important for them. So
more
really
ignites up and kill pressure from Team SoloMid here. About the same amount of flashes down.
Yeah, they got so much damage onto Amazing right here. And again, they scry themselves at the Baron Pit. It's like they're trying to fake people out. Hasn't worked twice in a row, and now they're down a Scrying Orb. Oh, there's Dyrus!
Whoa, Crumbs gets hit up. The teleport coming in on Dyrus, just down the hallway. He'll be safe. Zion Spartan was forced to get his teleport in there as well, and safety near the blue buff. TSM takes their side back, and Dig, I should say other side back, as they're kind of floating on each other's sides of the map right now.
Oh, man.
Whoa, this could be the fight that TSM wants. In the jungle would be perfect.
That's huge. Oh,
for a shockwave.
Zion is not near. He was in base when that catch happened on a Kiwi Kid, so Dig does have to run away.
Oh my gosh, Dyrus able to solo down Shifter. This is not good for Dignitas. What a game changer right here. Cutie Pie goes down. The chaos has been created. An amazing thumps his chest as TSM takes a commanding lead at 4 down for Dig.
That is the fight they needed. Surprisingly, getting a catch on a Kiwi Kid and then just chasing down the rest of Dig. I got confused there about who caught whom because they're just running in. Now TSM might have the death timers to end the game.
They say, yeah, not even Baron right now. Let's continue to go for this. We got Turtle with the attack speed. We can start crushing this down.
So Zion trying to keep the minions back. It's much harder to push double turrets without minions. And they actually want to get the Baron instead of the inhibitor because they've exposed it. And they want to be able to secure this before Dignitas respawns.
So nicely played. They're taking what they can all around the map, and hopefully Baron will be the last so they can go by in safety. A lot of plays can still be made in this game. We saw the kind of damage Dig had when they started to fight, but TSM, when it's in their favor, on their terms, goes a hell of a lot different.
I got discombobulated here because Dignitas
that's what I was saying.
the wrong side of the jungle
their
right
side,
here.
This side, whose side?
So TSM pushing in with 5 while Zion isn't there. That's why Amazing was so headstrong about going into this, flashing into the box just to get the first catch. And then when Shifter catches the charm, you think, hey, maybe it's Dignitas getting a catch. But no, because Dignitas didn't have the team fight positioning to have any type of follow-up. And Dyrus is so damn fast, flashes for the finish. Amazing continuing to catch on Lee Sin, and Cutie Pie getting caught by a Shockwave just because Amazing ran next to him. So all hell broke loose for Dig there.
Wow.
Really just got caught on a bad rotation, and TSM caught him out. Team play win right there by TSM.
It's really good to have a team that can jump everywhere and gap close and create distance. But if you all do it in a different direction, then you're just easy pickings for the entire team, and TSM saw that immediately.
And remember, if TSM sticks together, the speed that Nami can provide and the speed that Ori can provide will allow them to still run Dignitas down, which we saw in that last fight.
A lot of synergy there. Then when you catch up, you have a Voidooz to throw across the entire team of Dignitas. They're going to have to go for this next fight. They're going to be pressured down to their middle inhibitor here as TSM. They need to start setting up some wards on that side of the map before they can really get too aggressive. Maybe they'll just go with it. Baron's up on them, so it's not like they're going to be wasting too much time. Just some side wards to make sure nobody's coming out of the woodwork.
We're talking about TSM's motivation in this game as well. They still have a chance at the second seed. They win this game and their game tomorrow, and if Cloud9 loses, they would force a tiebreaker with Cloud9 for that second game. So this game equally as important for them as it is for Dignitas. Amazing actually getting hooked.
That was close. Down to half HP, but with Baron, he should be all right. They're going to heal up quite a lot. So you see Dignitas knows they cannot just full on fight this team. The skill shots are missing, and if they can't hit one of those, it's no engage.
Yeah, things are looking rather grim for Dig here. Trying to desperately keep the wave back. Dignitas really kind of needs to get the right kind of catch, but if they dive in, they're going to get caught by that Shockwave.
See how fast Dyrus breaks that crowd control with the Aurelia passive. Everybody there in his Merc treads nicely suited up and tied on his toes. Oh, he's getting hurt though. That turret does go down. Jat and Zion Spartan's going to try to put Maelstrom down, zone out the rest of TSM. He does so with his ultimate.
TSM doing a great job of sticking together so no one can get isolated for Ezreal Arcane Shifts or Ahri dashes. If anyone on Dig tries to get aggressive who is a damage dealer, they're going to get locked down very quickly by TSM. Staying together as a group here. They're very confident about going in for inhibitor number 2 here. Bjergsen trying to zone with Orianna Ball.
A good zone just by that ball placement. Can't see Wild Turtle get into place here for any of these shots. Dignitas is doing a nice job at setting up a human wall in their last inhibitor. And they don't have much time because this fight could mean the end of the game. Being
pretty patient too, healing up Dyrus with Nami and also waiting for the super minions to arrive. Here it comes.
They got super minions on the Nexus turrets, Jat. They have a lot to focus on here. Multitasking for Dig is the name of the game. Their inhibitor goes down from Team SoloMid as their eyes are on the win. They could be going for turrets, but it looks like they may just try and find more kills. No, they're going to be going for turrets.
They know they have a lot of pressure right now, although 5 are alive for Dig right now.
Dear.
Zion is in flank position. He used his teleport for this. Here we go.
He's right onto Wild Turtle. Wild Turtle gets hit with a Mystic Shot from the backside. He gets the Mikhail's Crucible immediately and starts throwing down the DPS. Cutie Pie as well on the right side gets hit up. Dyrus beautifully jumping onto the AD carry as Cutie Pie separates himself from the fight now. Great peel by the AD carries for themselves and the rest of the teams. Nobody goes down there somehow, and they allow him to walk out clean.
The damage is really lackluster for Dignitas right now. Obviously, the Maokai was great in the mid game, but the Elise isn't bringing the pain.
No.
Shifter can't dash in because TSM is staying together, and Ezreal late game is just not comparable to Kog'Maw's damage, which is why Zion Spartan could get such a nice engage there, but still not have Dignitas come away with any kills. I think it's only a matter of time here, Riv, until TSM walks away with victory.
One last push down the mid lane, and I'm sure they've been wanting this game all season long, knowing it's the last chance against Dignitas to put themselves to 16-11 if they can grab this one. It's only going to be a game off of what LMQ has at this point, so a lot of things can happen, like you said, at the top of that table coming up in the Super Week.
I'm a Cutie Pie as well, getting a little desperate for his last item. He builds a Black Cleaver in an effort to try and cut through armor. Right here, Ezreal, of course, not the greatest auto attacker, needs to keep his distance, wants to be able to shred with just his Mystic Shot. But I don't think it's going to be enough here. They don't have the wave clear to handle the super minions. Even with 1 inhibitor down, they actually lost a Nexus turret trying to defend their second one. So with 2 inhibitors down, The math just doesn't work in Dignitas' favor here. TSM pushing 5 strong in the bottom lane.
They would need something like a Wild Turtle, just like a Kog'Maw hanging out in base to clear out all those super minions. But they will not get that this game. They're going to get Dyrus coming up to the inhibitor. See Dignitas puts out the floor mat. It does not say welcome just yet. TSM's going to change that right quick. 6,000 golden lead. They could probably push down this turret quite easily, get the fight they want just around the turret.
We did just hear the announcer message that an inhibitor is respawning soon. If they can get the middle inhibitor up, it would be okay.
Ooh, that wave.
Those super minions are arriving. Someone's got to clear it. They don't have anyone there. They have to do something now. And TSM knows that, so they're just playing the waiting game.
Good ults.
Goodbye, Sweet Base.
Goodbye, Sweet Base, indeed. Rest in Pepperoni's inhibitor turret. It's going to be going down. Kiwi Kid tries to get himself back up to safety, and Yank, amazing, to the same spot. Right to the backside. See where the ball is placed. Shifter's trying to run from that. Bjergsen throws down on his Zhonya's as well. Says, I got one too. Let's use them. Very, very close to staying alive. Dyrus finally goes down in the fight, but he's going to be coming back up from the Guardian Angel. Kiwi Kid now in the focus of Wild Turtle. The Nexus turret's going down, and TSM will thwart the perfect 4-0 from Dignitas on the split. Not as Zion Spartan has something to say about it. Him and Shifter are going to have just one last breath on this game. Amazing goes deep, picks away the tree, and they take down the final Nexus turret. It's coming up on 50 minutes, chat. 20-20 on the scoreboard. Quite a bloody match.
There it is.
As Team SoloMid takes down Dignitas.
What they didn't have in kills, they made up for in savvy and team play right there. TSM takes down Dignitas for the first time this split and keeps their hope of a second seed and first round playoff bye alive. That was a hell of a game.
That was an amazing game. Both teams with a bit of aggression. Usually when games go long like that, it's kind of just because they waited. They were afraid to push their advantages and really work on what they had. But that was bloody. At each other's throats all the time.
Was just a whole bunch of fights again and again, but forced fights that all had strategic value of some kind.
Yeah.
A very back and forth battle, really about positioning and skill shots and vision control. So just a damn good game of League of Legends.
And the roller coaster ride of, you know, the power level was played. We kind of heard Bjergsen say we have spikes here and there. They weren't able to work the spikes, but they also weren't able to avoid Dignitas' early aggression. The Kiwi Kid roam was there. Dig did everything they needed to do to put themselves in a winning situation, but they were up against the late game Kog'Maw tank buster, and they let him get to that point.
Yes, Kiwi Kid played a hell of a game to get Dignitas a lead in the first place. But then I really think the thing that started to turn it around was the way that TSM dealt with Shifter's Ahri. We think about how farmed or how scary he was looking, you know? A 350 CS Ahri, Deathcap, Zhonya's, DFG, Void Staff, all these things. 20 kills on Dignitas, Shifter was a part of 8 of them. Right? He wasn't able to get involved because Bjergsen seemed to have Shifter-seeking shockwaves, pretty much. Every time he would think about getting into a fight, he'd hit him with a shockwave in the dissonance, and then Shifter wouldn't be willing to go into the fight with 25% health, and he could never deal sufficient damage. So the whole insurance policy that Dignitas would have wanted to keep a late-game Kog'Maw down just didn't exist.
Thanks, Riv. We want to welcome TSM's Bjergsen to the desk after your first win here in Super Week against Dignitas, a team that you actually hadn't beaten yet this split. So talk to me about how it feels to beat a team in the last week before you go into playoffs that you hadn't previously beaten.
Yeah, at least we managed to beat one of the teams that we hadn't beaten before, and it feels pretty good. I think we had a pretty decent record against other teams than Dig and LMQ, and going in, we really needed this win off of Dignitas, so we would feel confident if we met them in the playoffs, and we wouldn't feel like they're our kryptonite or they're unbeatable or they just have some counter to us, but now we feel pretty confident even if we would happen to meet them in playoffs.
All right, and you guys are locked in at least third place now. You can't do any worse than that in the playoffs. Who are you most afraid of playing in the playoffs?
I'd say just LMQ has a really good grasp on us. We do just kind of not play as well against them, but that's also a part of them playing well against us. And probably LMQ and C9 are the 2 strongest teams that we would prefer to play later, maybe in the finals.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into the game because I want to talk about the Aurelia pick into the Maokai. So talk to me a little bit about that because we've seen Maokai picked and banned in almost pretty much every game at this point, and people have been struggling to find an answer for it. So is Aurelia the solution?
There isn't really much of a solution. Top lane, especially with the sustained champions like Maokai and Gragas, they kind of can always just get out even and still be strong in team fights. But I think Maokai versus Aurelius is a very sustained heavy matchup, and the damage reduction through Maokai's ult will kind of get negated by the true damage of Aurelius' W. So I think that's kind of how the matchup works out. I wouldn't say one of them beats the other, but we like having the Aurelia in like later stages of the game.
All right, we got a little listen in at the start of the game where you were talking about scaling and Trinity Force and spikes like that. Talk to me more about the team composition and what your goals were coming in.
This game, especially when you have Kog'Maw, it's just really important that when you have Trinity Force, you have the power spike. That's usually when your mid lane hits the Athene's Sork Boots kind of power spike too. And that's where you can start grouping up with these team fighting team comps. And that's just pretty much what we want to work out for. Especially when we have the double Trinity Force, when you get those, that's really your mid game power spike, and that's what you need, and you have to play around because the Trinity Force champions, they scale well, but other champs that maybe rush IE, AD carries like Triss scale better into the late game. But when you hit that power spike in the mid game, it's huge, and you need to take advantage of it.
So how much of a deficit are you guys comfortable with, falling into having that late scaling team comp? Sorry, having that late scaling team comp. How much of a deficit are you willing to endure before you start to get worried?
I'd say maybe like a 5k gold lead would probably be. It really depends if you have like a really heavy scaling comp like we did against C9. We just fell too far behind. This game, I wouldn't say we had like a hardcore scaling comp because we do have that mid game power spike. That's really the big power spike that we want to play to. And I'd say a lot of teams, us too, kind of panic even when they have a late game comp. And sometimes you just need to calm down and think about where their power spikes are and where yours are and where you can take advantage of it.
So I've been keeping my eyes on your bot lane for a little bit, and you talked about a deficit. Turtle and Lustboy seem to be getting bullied around the last 2 days. Is there something that's going on there that's really apparent, or is it just synergy, communication?
I think they just need some more time to work out. They are really strong 2v2, but they have issues against like maybe getting ganked a lot, or just there are some things that they just need to work on together. And I think it's something that we can definitely figure out for playoffs because we're going to have a couple weeks where they can just do a queue all day long. And I'm not really too worried. Super Week is really where we just need to secure a place for playoffs. Maybe we can get top 2. It's very unlikely now, but we still got our spot in the playoffs, and that's what we wanted.
Yeah, there's definitely still a chance at that number 2 slot. I want to jump into the game. I want to go 42 minutes in where we see the team fight that kind of turns things back around into your guys' favor. So we're going to pull it up on your screen here. Talk to me about, falling into this kind of an opportunity for a team fight that you can capitalize.
Yeah, I think this is very late in the game where we see Maokai already using his TP and then backing because we faked the rotation onto the mid lane. So we knew it was going to be a 4v5 and we just kind of brute forced them. When you know you're 4v5 and you have a team comp where we have speed ups like Nami and Orianna, I just speed people up and they just run at them. And we just knew that the 4v5, regardless of like how much we were behind or ahead, we would just be able to win the fight.
And you guys ended up getting the Baron and the middle inhibitor turret off of that. And then when you put yourself in that situation with the late game scaling comp, does it just become don't mess up and just continue going forward when you get that lead?
It's pretty much just don't mess up. They have their whole comp was built around like maybe Ezreal poking a bit, but them being able to disengage and then being able to pick. They have the RE ult, they have Ezreal's E to disengage, but they have a lot of spells like Cocoon, Hook, Charm. They have a lot of things that can catch us off guard, and they can follow up and chain those CCs very well. And we just felt like when they were sieging, as long as we don't get hit by one of those CCs, we'll be fine, and we can just slowly wind down the turrets.
Were you at all surprised by the Ezreal pick, given the fact that Tristana was the only ban for AD carries, Cog, you still had Jinx, and really anything else that would have scaled a little bit better than Ezreal?
I don't know. Cutie is just... Cutie is Cutie. He's so unexpected. I would never go into a game thinking that... None of us went into the game thinking, oh, Cutie's going to pick this champion if it's up. I think Cutie just comes in on the day and he's like, oh, this champion is great. I want to play Ezreal today. And he did very well this game. And I think you can make pretty much any AD carry work in this meta as long as you play well enough.
That being said, he is a super mobile carry, and so is Ahri, as well as Elise is pretty slippery with her repel.
Yeah.
So when you face a team that's got all kinds of mobility, how does target calling work, especially being one of the shot callers yourself?
Mainly in teamfights, Maokai is going to be going into melee range, so it's pretty much having the basis of just hitting Maokai whenever you can and just keeping an eye on all of their carries and seeing when they're going to go in. Especially with Orianna, it's really hard to land that ult when they're all so mobile. So I throw my ball down, I'm like, oh, are they going to jump? Are they going to do all these things? But we have the basis of just hitting the closest targets and then just keeping our eye out on especially the RE for when she goes in.
And how are you stepping up to the shot calling role? Because I know that you kind of hesitant about it before, but now you're really just coming into yourself. How is that journey for you?
It's really hard. I feel like I'm playing worse individually because there's so much more to think about when you're shot calling. You have to think about pretty much what everyone has to do. And when we're strong, how are your teammates doing? Are they ahead? Are they behind? Where can we make our next play? Where do we need to play safe? When do we need to give up objectives? It's a really hard job, and it's something I have to keep working on to. But I'm trying to watch a lot of replays and just trying to learn through other really good players, and especially Reggie, and learn how to shot call.
All right, finally, I want to ask you about tomorrow's game, mostly because it's a possible preview of a first-round playoff match between you and Curse. Yeah, how important is that game? Less so for the win, but more so for understanding that team and developing a plan going into playoffs if you do end up playing them in the first round.
I think if we manage to get that win and we play them in the first round, we're going to go in really confident. If we win tomorrow, we're going to be 4-0ing them, and going into playoffs, we're going to feel like a lot more confident and a lot more comfortable going into that game. So I think tomorrow's game, regardless of whether we can be 2 or 3, it's just really important, and we have to give it our all.
Awesome. Well, you guys performed very fabulously in that game, coming back from a little bit of a deficit. Got your first win on Super Week. Congratulations. Thanks for joining us at the desk. Now we've got a recall to base, but we'll be right back with our next Rumble on the Rift. Team Curse versus LMQ. Don't go anywhere.